If he were the monster so many people are trying to imply that he is, so many of the false media propaganda stories are claiming, if that was truly his character, he would have definitely done something in those 10 years. I would have either witnessed something with somebody else or it would have happened with me. And then I would be saying something different, or I wouldn't be continuously again and again and again reassuring people. What does it mean to be integrated to something that we want? It means not to question, to backtrack, to be iffy, wishy-washy about it, but just you want something, do it, get it. In this sense, I want to answer one of the frequently asked questions on my recent videos, which is, why did I try to talk people into spending thousands of dollars to go to Inner Awakening? Why did I try to convince people to become a sannyasi? Don't I feel guilty about that now? The answer is absolutely not. I myself spent thousands of dollars on Inner Awakening.
I realized I did not want to mislead any more people and recruit for that cult anymore.
I got so benefited from those programs.
One thing we all need to be aware, if simple logic we put into this, we all can find this out. If you observe, every time she tries to insert an idea into people and negative and a false idea about Swamiji and Sangha to people, one tactic that she uses is showing herself as a victim.
How far did he take it with you? Like, was he, like, how, did he ever touch you? Did he?
Oh yeah, he did. It started really like a mental trip the first time I went to India.
Many of us, one thing that all of us have is, when we see someone in suffering, whether a man or a woman, the first response is not doubt. The first response is feeling the sympathy that comes out. We sympathize them. And then only even doubts come in. That sympathy, that weak point, is what is becoming a weapon for many cheap, cunning people like Dirty Laundry. And that's what she does in all her video.
If you all have observed, like recently she had deleted all of her past videos. The main thing is because very recently, in the month for I think September, October of 2019, she had gotten a huge sum of money.
Has released a 3-part docu-series about the cult I escaped called My Daughter Joined a Cult. But in case you didn't know already, good news! Discovery Plus finally released a docu-series about the cult I escaped called My Daughter Joined a Cult.
For talking against Swamiji and Sangha. And that is how she came, or she immediately came, she deleted all her past videos, because in many of her past videos, she reveals all the things about her, how she was, what kind of a person she was, and how Swamiji has healed her, how Swamiji has transformed her. And because she had shared all that, she deleted it completely. So we will not be able to use her, like just quote her statements itself to be against the rumors that she's trying to spread right now. And one more important thing I want to tell here. Let's just study that timeline. 2018, towards November, this Dirty Laundry leaves the Adinam. And in 2019, till almost August, she puts multiple videos after videos and posts telling how she was happy in the ashram, and she only came to Canada just to, do her household work, just to live a different outer world lifestyle.
Paramahamsa Nithyananda, the guru to whom I will always be grateful for his teachings and for everything that he showered on me when I was a member of his organization, he said that truly pure consciousness is the only unchanging absolute in all of our lives. We are all that. You are pure consciousness. That moment we can rest in our feeling of desperation. We don't have to make amends for sins because we're not sinners. We don't have to apologize for mistakes because ultimately everything is going to become perfect. We don't have to dwell on the past. We don't have to stress about the future. However, when we want something, we should be integrated towards achieving it. We should put everything we have into it. Otherwise, we're going to completely miss the mark of what we're here for.
They just make shit up, publish it as if it's true, and then get righteously indignant when journalists come forward and say, well, actually, what you're saying has no substantial proof. And then they attack those journalists. They're just grieving parents trying to rescue their kids.
I know that my son has changed. He was such a strong kid, and he's still very strong. He's wonderful and he's smart. But I didn't know the degree of what was happening, and I'm just so sad, and I'm just so happy that we got him out and we brought him home. And no matter what his path is, his mom and dad love him very much. And I want him to heal from this so that he can be the same boy that he was before he left and went, to this apartment. And we supported him to do the choice that he did. He was going to do music engineering in the apartment, but it just, every time I visited, it was decaying. The apartment was a disgusting mess. Sarah seemed like glassy-eyed and out of it. I came one time, and I believe she even lied. I was looking for my son because I had made an arrangement to go out to dinner with him, with my husband, and she told us that he wasn't there. And we got there early at their door and knocked, and we heard noise, and we knew that he was in there, but she turned us away. And it was the most heartbreaking thing because I hadn't seen him for about 4 or 5 weeks. And what prompted me to go in and say, I'm going to break into this apartment, is I had not heard from him for 6 weeks. We asked every friend that he went to high school with, we asked cousins, whatever, and nobody had heard from Luke for over 6 weeks. In July of last year, actually, it was July of last year. And I said, I've got to go down and find out. And we waited outside of the apartment for the security, let us through. I said, I have to go up and I have to see what's happened to my son. He won't answer any calls, text messages, nothing. And we went upstairs, and funny enough, the door was open, not open physically, but unlocked. And I went in, and my son was in the living room, a mess, and he was out of it. And I said, this has got to stop, Luke, you've got to come home. And then, it was another occasion. We went down, and I couldn't get him out at that point. And then I went down on another occasion, and I said, this is it. And they were both outside, and they'd had an altercation. And I know it was probably because he couldn't stand whatever she was provoking him with. And they were out on the front grass. And I said, you're not going back in. You're coming with me, and you're coming home. And that's enough. And I moved him out. I actually never let him go back to see her. I dealt with her.
If
Good.
Sarah and
It
Jordan
is.
We did good.
Life is good is an understatement. It's
I think
so
we did a good job.
we did do a good job. Truly.
So Parantapa, what were you telling me just the other day about life?
About life,
Yeah.
I can say that by being here, by taking brahmacharya, by being a sannyasi, every single desire I've ever had in my life, I feel like, in the outer world that is, I feel like it's getting totally fulfilled by Swamiji. And not only getting fulfilled, but it's above and beyond what I could have ever imagined.
Wow.
And also that life has never been this good before. I couldn't even imagine that life would be this awesome.
Wow.
It literally feels like I'm just living in some higher dimension now. Which,
That's awesome.
yeah, we actually are living in a higher dimension. We're in
It's true.
Kailash,
It's
so-
true.
really did get caught having sex
Come
when
to
they
Inner
were there
Awakening,
in the
Inner
cult
Awakening,
and
Inner
got kicked
Awakening
out
after
because
Inner
of it.
Awakening. So come to
Why
Inner
did
Awakening,
none of
do whatever you got to do to make it here. Just go to innerawakening.org and make the full $10,000 payment. $10,000 ain't even a lot.
they
Just
did
ask
get
for
caught
family
having
members if you
sex
don't
when
have
they
it.
were
Ask your
there in the
friends if
cult
you're rich.
and got kicked out
Just go
because
ahead
of
and
it?
make that.
That
At
she has
Inner Awakening,
sexually
Inner Awakening, Inner
misbehaved
Awakening, Inner Awakening,
with
Inner Awakening, Inner
both
Awakening.
men
Is anyone
and
even
women.
still watching this?
And from
Inner
to
Awakening,
heal
Inner
from
Awakening,
that
it's only
scars,
$10,000.
to
It's
heal
a lot.
herself
Inner
from
Awakening.
that
Come to Inner Awakening
mentality of a
because I did
sexual
it. Look at
predator,
me.
she wanted to join
Come to
the
Inner
Adinam.
Awakening.
She wanted to come and
Inner
get
Awakening.
healing
Thank
from
you
Swamiji.
for tuning in to my channel.
But after
Divine
she joined the
Expressions.
Adinam, And after
Inner
once she
Awakening.
started,
Shout out to all
like
my
actually
viewers.
even
Subscribe to
after
this
joining
channel.
Dadina
My
multiple
video
times,
channel. My
she
YouTube channel is
expressed
gonna be a lot more
that
professional.
sexual
Real
predator
crispy
which
for
is
y'all
in
to
her
enjoy the
in
presentation of
multiple
this
ways.
spray.
Like she was trying to misbehave with sannyasis, the monks who were residing there, and even the some of the program participants who would come from different countries. So each time she does that, she was banned from being part of Dadinam, and like every time she, like the way she, especially the violent way how she expresses it, so she'll be immediately banned from Dadinam.
Why do none of you remember that happening? You know? If really this took place, why did nobody say so? Make them think. Right now they're not thinking, they're being thought for. They're being told what to say, told what to believe, told what to do. That's what it is. Like if you join a spiritual organization and they make you sign an NDA, that's a red flag.
So again, to those who are questioning Bishop Ralph's legitimacy as a bishop, what makes a man a bishop is the consecration he receives by a bishop, who is consecrated by a bishop, who is consecrated by a bishop, who is consecrated by a bishop, in a lineage that traces its way all the way back to the original bishops, who were the apostles consecrated by Christ.
Yes.
Okay. So I think we've cleared that issue.
Who claims to be a Catholic bishop.
We've cleared that issue.
At that time, from 2012, Nithyananda had blessed Ralph Napirsky on Facebook. Cult.
She claimed she never has been in a Christian organization. She claimed she never wrote books, and she claimed she never was a leader, but she was, and people know because she made like 40 or 50 videos that she posted on YouTube talking about this, like
So again, for the lay people and for the non-Catholics, the words of the consecration are the words spoken by the priest when he calls the Spirit of Christ into the Eucharist. So it's basically the most important part of a Catholic Mass. It's the consecration of the bread, which becomes the body, and the wine, which becomes the blood.
That's also ridiculous bullshit.
A true spiritual organization will not abuse you and then fear that you're going to go public about the abuse. A spiritual organization won't do that. That equates you telling the truth to you attacking them.
Is that he thinks we're attacking him because, like, the way a narcissist perceives somebody pointing out what they've done that's bad, they see it as an attack, not an exposure. So like, we are not trying to attack.
You're fine. I did not hurt you. I did not punch you. I was hitting you.
This isn't an attack.
You get punched. You got hit. I'm sorry I hit you like this. But I did not punch you. I did not fucking deck you. I fucking was hitting you.
So I'm really excited. My daughter joined a cult, is out now. The only thing okay, there are two things I'm disappointed about. One, the subtitles. Please, if you work at Discovery and you're seeing this, or like if you know somebody who works at Discovery, show them this one little clip. Put English subtitles over the Hindi, Gujarati, and Tamil in My Daughter Joined a Cult. We desperately want to know what everyone in it is saying, especially the mother of Sangeeta. I want to know what she has to say. Please fix that. And what Bhuvaneshwari Sharma says, I want to know what she's saying. I want to know what they're all saying. When Lennon does an interview and it's all in Tamil, I want to know what he's saying. Please, please. Like, it's very triggering for somebody who was in Nithyananda's cult, who was sitting there in all the meetings but not understanding a word of it because it was all in Tamil. It feels like that's happening all over again. So please, please, translate it. So that's one thing that's disappointing. The other thing that I find a little disappointing is, so it does go into a very, very brief piece where I talk about the beatings in Gurukul.
To make it clear, I was a Gurukul Acharya at the time. I was one of the people who taught a class on a regular basis to the kids. That's why they had a personal relationship with me. I was one of the few people in the organization who had approval from the power structure, the authority of Gurukul, I was one of the few people who had approval to talk to all of the kids. And I taught them social media, so how to use Facebook, how to use YouTube, how to use Instagram. So the kids were already comfortable with me because of the amount of time I had spent with them in India.
But I feel like they should have pulled up a clip of
The year I was trapped in the Toronto apartment. I felt like a totally different person after. My innocence was totally lost. Okay, well, you have to do the sexual conduct with me. She said, don't call your parents. If you call your parents, I'll punish you. And I would just say, no, I don't even want to do anything. Let me just be here. Do whatever you want. I'm already dead inside. I broke. I just had a mental breakdown. I don't care anymore. You've taken everything from me, including my family, everything I love, everyone I love.
I'm Luke's mom.
who's one of the survivors of that Gurukul.
Sarah Landry has humiliated and ridiculed me about the abuse that I went through. She has taken out court evidence of what has been submitted to the court and has been seen as legitimate to put away a man guilty of child molestation and child sexual abuse and sentence him to prison. She has gotten that out and she is ridiculing me for it. When I was 12 years old, Vinay Bharadwaj had me call him every single night while I was just about to go to sleep. He would slowly teach me about the most ridiculous, inappropriate things that 12-year-olds should never even learn. About sex. He would ask me to masturbate. He would even ask me to watch porn. Even now, 10 years later, it's hard for me to tell you about this. But when somebody is saying that I'm brainwashed, I'm lying, I have no choice but to have videos to make my voice heard. I have to go to all extents because the harm that she is doing is too powerful. The damage that she is doing is too great. And somehow I have to make my voice known. I have to say this. I have to make sure that you understand my story.
She has made videos on her social media about the December 31st beatings. A little clip of that would have perfectly settled the debate.
The head teacher of their Gurukul had stormed into the girls' dorm at about 4 a.m. before the girls got up in the morning and started yelling at all of them that people paid thousands of dollars to be here to develop the superpowers of the third eye, and the program is a failure. None of the participants are manifesting these powers, and she told these kids it was their fault. She said that if they had the proper devotion to the guru, they would have connected with participants in something called Shaktipada, or like entanglement. These kids, it's your fault the program is a failure. You are causing pain to Nithyananda. Now you have to feel his pain. And she made one of the girls hold her stick and beat every other kid in the room, one by one. And she said, until they bleed or they cry, keep beating. So some kids had black eyes, some kids were bleeding, they all had visible bruises. And they were then chained up, locked in that dorm. So some kids had black eyes, some kids were bleeding, they all had visible bruises. And they were then chained up, locked in that dorm, in kind of a caged off area of the dorm until their visible injuries were healed. So they were kept away from everybody else in the campus for 1 week. Yeah. I asked, why didn't your parents take you out of the school? Because here this kid is saying she doesn't want to go back because of this beating. And she said that the teachers told them that it is guru droha, which means a crime against the guru, if they tell their parents about this beating.
If someone calls you and say, don't do that, don't mess with me, don't do this, I'm Kali, I'll destroy you, all of this. And just the tone she would use was so intimidating. Anytime I tried to do anything, call my family, it would be, "You don't dare to call your family or I'll curse you." She said, "Don't call your parents. If you call your parents, I'll punish you and I'll curse you." She said, "Don't call your parents. If you call your parents, I'll punish you and I'll curse you." I broke. Like, I just had a mental breakdown. I don't care anymore. You've taken everything from me.
So none of them are allowed to tell the adults, because if they do, they lose their enlightenment, they lose their privilege. And then she went on to tell me they were all faking these powers in front of their teachers. They were not allowed to eat or sleep or drink water or go to the bathroom until they successfully demonstrated these powers. And so she said there was a time when, for 4 days and 4 nights straight, the kids were on a hard stone floor, locked in their school. If any kids started falling asleep, there were other kids given buckets of water to dump on them to wake them up. So for 4 days and 4 nights, they didn't sleep. They didn't.
Christ.
She would only, when it got to the point where she didn't let me eat anything, I would only eat when she would bring me food and decide. Everything was, my life, like, if you could imagine, every single aspect was totally under her control. I do think there might have been things that she was putting in the food that was assisting in this sinister plan or whatever.
Where some people don't believe me when they hear a kid describing it in her own words. That could have been included. Nithyananda's next. Swamiji, you gave me the instruction to make you go viral, and that's maybe the one Guru Vak I'm still following. So I'm gonna make him go viral, and he will rue the day he beat children, sexually assaulted countless people, allegedly murdered Sangeeta, possibly murdered other people. I mean, he's done so many terrible things right now that I don't see why his story wouldn't go viral.
In time, a lot of Nithyananda's critics were criticizing me, saying, "Why did you just leave? You must have some insider information. There must be more to it than that." The teacher, while the kids were getting brutally attacked, forced to attack each other, the teacher told them they are being punished because participants are not manifesting these powers, and that it's the children's responsibility. I dropped the kavi, meaning I stopped wearing the orange robes of a Hindu renunciant, and quietly came back to my regular life in Canada. And a lot of people were criticizing me at that. Brainwashed enough, and I can't stress enough that this organization brainwashes people. I was still brainwashed enough and that I believed that even though the kids had been beaten, maybe the fault or the responsibility is in the teachers. To make it clear, I was a Gurukul Acharya at the time. I was one of the people who taught. I desperately wanted to report the attack to the police, but I was prevented from doing so. At the time, I was one of the people who taught a class on a regular basis to the kids. That's why they had a personal relationship with me. I was one of the few people in the organization who had approval from the power structure, the authority of Gurukul. I was one of the few people who had approval to talk to all of the kids.
I may have gone into some things that others wouldn't have gone into. I might have had some experiences others wouldn't have necessarily had. But I feel every single one of those was positive. And especially my time with Swamiji, there's something so empowering about knowing we can reach higher spiritual states. The breakthroughs that I had in yoga, in flexibility, in strength, in posture, the breakthroughs that I had in my inner space, the breakthroughs I had in knowing I can manifest, creating the business I created on Etsy since coming back, things that I wouldn't have believed I could have done then. I know I can do now because he has given me the experience that I am the creator of my life, the creator of my reality, and what I choose to experience, I'll experience. Anyone who questions Swamiji or who questions his organization or his programs, what you need to understand is that if you don't like it, if you don't want to go, that's perfectly fine. But when so many of us come forward, my mother included, who attended 4 programs, a lot of my good friends, when so many of us come forward and say that this experience has benefited us, why not just believe what we're saying at face value? We're not liars. We have nothing to gain from
So I'm really excited. My daughter joined a cult, is out now.
it. I'm no longer connected to that organization in any way whatsoever. I have nothing to lose, nothing to gain by saying this. When I say he was good to me and I'm grateful for the time that I spent there,
I don't know how many times I have to answer the same questions over and over